Good morning, Adam here, personal trainer with over 25 years experience. I want to talk to you today about hips. Melissa asked me about sciatica. That's when you get that numb or shooting feeling down the outside of your leg, and it's usually coming from the hip and the lower back. Quite often you can get some relief by massaging the area that hurts up in the hip there. So if you just sit on a tennis ball on your bum and just roll gently back and forth. Primarily though, go and see a physio. That would be my first step, and get some advice from them. But you can pretty safely sit on a tennis ball just on the side of your hip there, like you're sitting down. Just have a tennis ball underneath the side of your bum and just rolling back and forth. If sitting on the tennis ball makes your leg go numb, or you get any kind of pain or tingling feeling anywhere down your leg and your feet, then stop doing it. But if it's just a local feeling of, that's a tight muscle, then that's okay. Now, what else you can do is stretch the thighs, and there's many different ways of doing this, from easy to advanced. I'll show you a couple of them. And the reason we want to stretch the front of the hip, the thigh, is because muscles always work as opposites. Okay, so when I'm lifting the food to my mouth, I've got some muscles in my arm which bring the fork and the food to me. The opposite muscles have to relax to let that happen. So it's like volume switches. When we turn the music up with this dial automatically turns down. You don't have to think about it. It's a natural process called human movement, technically called reciprocal inhibition. So a thigh stretch, what do you have to pay attention to? Not much really. It's one of the most basic stretches in the world. All we want to make sure though is that when I'm doing my thigh stretch, so I grab my foot and I'm holding it up there, and ideally I'm holding onto something stable so that I'm not wasting time balancing as well as stretching. Okay, so I've got a bench here, I can hold onto that, and then I'm nice and stable and my system can relax. But when I'm doing that stretch, the muscles at the front of the hip here, from the knee up to the hip and into the lower back, if I don't pay attention, they're going to pull the lower back forwards, and I'm going to get this compression in the lower back, and I'm not going to be stretching the muscle properly. So if I'm here, but I'm sticking my tail out, or my knee is going backwards too far like that, and my stomach is loose, then I'm not getting as much stretch as I want, and I'm potentially compressing the discs in the lower back. The bones are not sitting in their neutral position, and in the lower back there, they're going to be squashing on one side rather than sitting nice and neutral. So when I do that, I want to make sure I'm not a happy dog. I want to imagine I've got a tail, and I'm going to tuck the tail between my legs. Okay, so I grab my foot and I lift the front of my pelvis up by pulling my stomach in. Okay, now this is too hard for some people. Some people can't get their foot, or when they lift their foot up, it's so much tension and unfamiliarity that the hamstring muscle goes cramp, 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 and now you're in an even worse position. So what can you do? You can do a kneeling down stretch. Put a pad there, and then do a half, whoops, you missed that angle. Let me just change the camera. Extremely professional operation we're running here. Okay, so you put yourself up on a pad, and again, make sure you're not the happy dog with the loose stomach and the tail sticking up in the air. Stomach pulled in, tail tucked under. Okay, and you should feel a really nice stretch there. I can make that more advanced by having my foot raised up if I get that flexible. One way of doing that is using the back of the bench. I might just put my foot right up there like that, okay? Or I might have got down on the ground, and this is really advanced because what's going to happen now is that my other leg is out in front. So the fact that this thigh is out in front and this thigh is down, that split through the groin is adding a huge amount to this stretch, and it makes it very hard not to slip into that happy dog position. We've got to really try and pull the stomach in and tuck the tail between the legs. This is an enormous stretch. This is extremely advanced, this position. Don't go straight into this one. Start with foot on the ground, holding onto something stable, and just being in a thigh stretch position without your bum sticking out behind you, okay? Tuck your tail between your legs, pull your stomach in, and then if you are a sciatica person, you want to be holding this position for at least 20 seconds and then changing legs, okay? And again, as always, if you want to stretch and relax, then you need to hold on to something stable, whether it's a stability ball, a wall, a chair, anything, if I'm not holding on and I'm having to balance at the same time, my nervous system has to devote a certain amount of energy to not falling over as well as stretching, and I just won't relax as much. Okay, so there's your thigh stretch intro. God, it's 5 minutes already. Sorry the video's so long, I talk too much. Hope this helps. If you have any questions, please, as usual, just put a comment in the comment section below, and I'm more than happy to help. If you have any other queries, you want to know about any other area of fitness, like I said, I've got some experience, I'm happy to help.